Hey man,
What's up?
see, you want to talk about the old Star Wars movies still, huh? Since Han Solo just came out and all that junk.
Well, I wish the old Star Wars movies were the only movies that we had to talk about.
Yeah, um, I guess my points with Star Wars are pretty they're pretty simple to the point. I really don't like the way that a lot of people are handling it, especially about. Um, I think there's name calling on like both sides, which I think are pretty bad.
Definitely.
Um, But you really have to admit, you just have to be a fanboy to actually like a movie like The Last Jedi.
To help the writers.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like I always feel like when I watch it, I always feel like the fanboys are the ones that are like they have to write the script for the writer.
Shouldn't happen.
It just blows my mind on how
It's ridiculous.
the movie doesn't have this continuity to it. It's like if you want a movie with continuity, if you want a movie that actually makes sense, if you want a movie that actually like tells a story and has good character dynamics, and the only way that you can do that out of that movie is to create dialogue or create reasons that don't even fall into the context of the movie.
You're not paid to do that.
Well, that's the thing. It's like not really our job. It's really someone like the director who needs to actually like lay out a story that first of all makes sense. I mean,
Right.
There's so many things about The Last Jedi. I mean, I could go on forever about what doesn't make sense. Now, don't get me wrong. I think actually, if I had to compliment the movie, I would say that's probably one of the best scores I've heard in a long time. Because you know me, I'm a big music guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's one of the best scores I've ever heard come out of a Star Wars movie. Just fantastic. And to give the director or the cinematographer credit, it was the most beautifully shot Star Wars movie of all time.
It's a shame.
But to go with that context, just and see, you didn't like The Force Awakens.
No. Ever.
See, I did.
I fell asleep in it.
I did. I saw it multiple times in the theater. I thought it was cool. I liked how it was kind of like an homage to the old Star Wars, but trying to tell a new story. I mean, you didn't like Finn. You didn't like Rey, right?
What was it? Direct homage.
Well, that's debatable on a lot of levels for me, but now I absolutely can't like it. I can't like it because it makes absolutely no sense now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like so anyways, but see, I liked Rey. I thought she was a cool character. I liked Finn even. I thought Finn was a little the one thing about Finn that I didn't understand is like he's this military indoctrinated stormtrooper, and he comes on and he's all like goofy and stuff, like, oh wait, we got a cute boyfriend, and I think in the scheme of things it was really cool because I like the little BB-8 thing with his little, and he stuck out his little thumb lighter thing. Don't you remember that? And he was talking about, he was like saying something along the lines of like, tell her that I'm part of the rebellion, and then like that. And so all of a sudden BB-8 kind of lied to Rey, and he stuck out his little thumb lighter.
I think I've only seen the movie 3 times.
There's some cute things in there. See, I like The Force Awakens. So there's these theories that are coming out. There's like one I've heard that, well, if you're part of the old, and I saw the original OT in the theater as a little tyke.
Yeah.
So I know that I like these movies. Now, I wasn't so hip on the remakes that George Lucas did, but there were still things in it that, as far as a story was concerned, there was likable. There was likable things. Now, the character development, I know it wasn't that awesome. The acting in some parts wasn't that good. The love story felt forced in areas, and then
the comedy didn't feel forced.
A lot of things was forced in it. Jar Jar honestly didn't bother me like a lot of people bothered me. Bothered people, because I'm personally actually my favorite of them all is actually. Return of the Jedi is my favorite.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people say Empire. Now Empire will be my second. I like Empire. Don't get me wrong. I didn't have a problem with the Ewoks because I thought it was so cool that something. Well, that's mainly everybody's reason. Because you can't go into Return of the Jedi and go, that opening scene sucked.
Right.
No, man, that was one of the best opening scenes ever of any Star Wars movie. When Luke's going up against Jabba, it's like,
yep,
dang, dude,
yep.
Luke's awesome. Okay,
a raincore.
I mean, everything about it was just put together so well, and so, so I didn't really have a problem with the Ewoks being something that went under the radar with the Empire. They never saw something coming. That's one of those things where you can actually, it's not using an excuse. Like, I always feel like the fanboys use the Force and say, well, the Force did this and the Force did that and the Force, you know, you got to write that into the story where you can kind of see how the Force had its hand upon something so simple like the Ewoks, you know,
Right.
where something so like so simple and so primitive and so loving and kind of cute, you know, you have to admit they're cute, and that's all right, you know, that's all right. I guess I just didn't have a problem with that. We're you know, versus something like, and I like the Sith movie. I thought the Sith movie had some good stuff, but to go from Anakin like all of a sudden just twisting into like murdering children in that frame of time, just seems so forced. But the story worked.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? The story worked.
Right.
And that's the most important thing. That's why I don't think there's so much fallout with those as there is with the new ones.
Right.
Because the story doesn't, the story worked.
It felt like Star Wars.
It still flowed into the Skywalker bloodline. It still flowed because you can say this all you want. He's like, you can say this all you want. But if you're going to call it Part 8, it needs to be in continuity with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yep.
That's how it works.
Yep.
Now, if you want to make a whole entire story, that's a totally different trilogy in the Star Wars universe.
Do it.
Fine.
Yeah, do it.
You know, fine. But you can't say that it's not about the Skywalker bloodline anymore in the context of the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, this is what the whole 1 was about Anakin Skywalker in the bloodline. 2 was about what? Anakin Skywalker in the bloodline. 3, what was 3 about?
Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, and what was 4 about? Luke Skywalker. What was 5 about? Luke Skywalker. You know, now he's starting to understand his father, who was in episode 1, 2, and 3 as they established him, and then you got number 6, and it's like, I go back to that scene. Dude, at the end of Jedi, okay? And I love it. Do you know those movies like at the end of movies like Braveheart where they have that big those sentences at the end where it kind of says what like William Wallace did, you know, he was like and because of this they sent his body parts across the or whatever and it didn't really have the reaction, and it does all these things like, you know, with the other characters and what they did and how it unfolded.
Yeah.
Imagine if you would do that. Imagine if you would do that with the end of Return of the Jedi. Now imagine if you did that. You were like, okay, you're showing the end where they're all doing the yub, you got the nut, whatever, and the Empire is like being pulled down. There's this fireworks in the sky. Oh, universe is like just exploding because this evil tyrant that was having its control on the universe is now over.
For over
we're
20 years.
We're out of this tyranny now, you know, and it's like people are celebrating. Now imagine them pausing their pictures and all of a sudden over Han Solo and saying, and Han Solo lived this kind of thing, went back into a life of his thing, left Leia and was in the end killed by his son on a bridge trying to like get him to come back from the dark side of the Force. It's just it just doesn't the theme of it would be so like, and then Luke Skywalker, after this failure that he had, decided that he was going to, for a moment, slay his nephew, and then basically killed himself in like some sort of suicide way that really didn't make a difference.
His dad was the embodiment of the devil, and he still tried to bring him back to the light side.
That's what I think a lot of people don't realize, and that's that's probably one of my. If I had to say number one problem is I don't necessarily have a problem if they wanted to make Luke a hermit, they wanted to make him kind of go in a reclusive area, but I do have a problem with them trying to pick a guy that actually went beyond a self-sacrifice and saw such little good in Darth Vader, who was the epitome of evil. The epitome. Killed way more than Kylo Ren ever has. And
ever will.
And then at the same time, having his nephew in a place of where there may be a crossroads here. and not think that I'm going to steer him in the right direction, but I'm going to kill him anyways.
Yeah.
That's just like, to me, is writing
a feeling.
But it's just writing cop-out.
Feeling.
It's just a cop-out to me. It's like you're not actually taking the context of the character on how to actually draw the audience in. This is why people don't care.
Yeah.
Because you didn't draw them in. And he's like in this place, and this island, that's fine. But why did he make a map? You know, and Luke Skywalker is the one that did it, because the other part's in R2-D2, and there's no one else that could have done it aside of Luke Skywalker. Yep. Why would you do a map if you don't want to be found?
Hey, I'm going to make a map. You know, usually when people make a map, they say, you know, come find me, I want to be found, and then he gets found. You know, Chewie, hadn't seen Chewie in, 30 years? Over 30 years? What are you doing here? Man, get out.
There's so many things, and it's like, it's not the essence of like disliking like the characters. I mean, it's how the characters were built that makes you like not connect with them. No. And so when you don't connect with the character, naturally people are just going to say, I just don't like the character. Right. It's not a matter of, like I said, I liked Rey in the beginning. I thought it would have been cool if she was like part of a Skywalker bloodline of some kind, and we kept the story going, because again, it is episode 8. It is episode 7. We're still talking about the same stuff here.
We called her Mary Sue, right?
Well, she really doesn't earn the powers.
No.
She doesn't really earn the powers, you know? And what they did with Han Solo in the new movie, it's like, I don't get that either. I just don't get that. The one thing that really ticks me off about the Han Solo movie, okay? And I thought it was a very vanilla movie, and I thought it was okay. Where I'd give The Last Jedi a complete failure. Well, yeah, complete failure. Yeah. With the exception of cinematography and score, I would give it a complete failure. But with those two, I might have to give it a D-. You know, if I had to grade it.
Right.
Because those things were so good. I thought the cinematography was so good. But with the Han Solo movie, which I'd probably give like a C-, because it's passable. Right. It's passable. But it's like we never really heard about this whole fuel thing and how it's actually a problem. And all of a sudden, to make this story work, we got to drive this fuel point home that doesn't even make sense.
To make The Last Jedi work.
Here's the thing that like bugs my mind. It's like the story would have been over if they would have just wrote it into the script the way that Snoke wanted it to be done. It's like, I want you to destroy the rebels. Why are you blowing up the base before you're blowing up the escape ship that all the people are flying to? If that is your one job.
Yep.
See, because the movie would be over.
Yep.
And I hear all this times about Poe, and it's like, it's Poe, and he screwed this whole thing up. Are you kidding me? If that dreadnought would have been alongside with them the whole time, they wouldn't even made it through half the movie.
Yep.
It would be just done. It'd be completely over with. But the dreadnought had to be destroyed to make the plot drive. Right. And the base had to be destroyed so that the ship could get away to make the plot drive. And then to make the plot drive, we had to have fuel be a problem so that the wall thing could be a big Spaceballs thing. Where we're running out of fuel.
Yeah.
You know, and that, you know, I really wanted to like it. I saw it multiple times in the theater, and it was worse every time.
Yep.
It's worse every time, but I did notice some cool things, cinematography. And me being a big music guy, I did notice some really cool things with the score. But my point is that when you're with Han Solo, it's like they took these things that were only an issue because of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Like the fuel thing. So now all of a sudden we're going to make this movie and we're going to force it into Han Solo's storyline that he was doing this fuel run, and now it's like going, hey guys, look, this is a prequel. The fuel thing is really here. The fuel thing is really a deal. It's true.
But in real life was made after The Last Jedi.
There is exactly. I mean,
atrocity.
The dice thing. The dice thing is it's the stupidest thing in the world. It's like he threw this in there. Nowhere have we ever seen any type of conversation between Han, Luke, or Leia in any situation that would make these dice anything more than a decoration that Lucas put up there for just some fun, you know? But now it's like this thing where Luke gives her this hologram dice, and it's supposed to mean something, and all of a sudden you go back to this Han Solo movie, it's like, hey, look, guys, it's a real thing.
They're writing whole plots.
The dice really did mean something for him. And I'm like, to me, that just seems so silly. And it's like, all these things are just forced in there. All these things, like we should have hired Bosk. And it's like, You're just bringing these things up just to throw it in there for fanboys instead of like making the universe this big gigantic thing with people we didn't even know, new droids and new aliens and stuff, and you're just forcing it into this little thing with having like the probe droid from Empire Strikes Back be the thing that actually protects the train. It's like, why do you even need a train, man?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't we have spaceships?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. At the end, dude. I thought Darth Maul was the dumbest thing that could. I thought it was the biggest fanboy thing that you could have put in there.
Right.
It's like the fanboy thing that they put. The one thing, and I liked Rogue One for the most part. Okay?
Oh yeah.
So a couple things I didn't like about Rogue One.
Love Rogue One.
I gave a couple things I didn't like. I didn't think that the brain monster thing, they had to crop that whole thing out of the
weird.
thing. It had been because they built this thing up to be something that's like, oh, if the monster like touches the brain, it sometimes leaves the. You know what? Forrest Whitaker and his weird cocked eye, which I love Forrest Whitaker because he's got that cool look, you know.
Right.
Anyways, so he's like. They just most of the time never come back, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this dude's like back to normal, like fixing stuff like later. So it didn't really even matter. Why don't you just interrogate the dude and get what you needed out of him? Be done with it. Yeah, just, whatever. Not bring this big monster and this big CGI thing. I want to work on the story a little. So I had a problem with that, which is minor. I agree. The other thing, which is a little more major, is bringing Darth Vader moments before, or at least weeks before, or months before he's going to have a fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi in the episode 4, A New Hope, and they're kind of like fighting like, and then all of a sudden, like weeks before, I'm gonna be generous and say weeks before, he's like walking on the ship, going, and just rushing things, and then hanging over the side like of space or something weird like that with his cape blowing in the wind of space,
and
I'm
vacuum
like,
of space.
There's some weird physics things going on, and to me that was like a fanboy service. What they, in my opinion, is they shouldn't have done much with Darth Vader at all. They should have just did something like with the tank. I thought the tank thing was really cool.
The tank.
Where he was in the tank and he was like...
the back of the tank.
That was cool.
Yes.
They shouldn't have brought out Darth Vader to talk to the general guy. They should have just made it on the hologram and made him choke him and drop him. Why did he need to meet him face to face? You know, it's like,
the
let your ambition choke you out, or whatever he said. You know, and I think that'd be cool. It'd be cooler if it was in a hologram because it really shows the power and the mystery of Darth Vader. Because if you're watching this thing, in order, that's how I would do a prequel. You do it so it would unveil, and that's what a prequel should do. You should still be able to see this thing and not understand what happened here if you haven't seen it already.
Right.
You know, now you got Darth Vader where he's kind of comes out of the box all tough, and now you're gonna watch the next movie and he's kind of looking like a pans.
And, you know, I get the whole the real world reason, you know, because it was made in 1977. That's the thing
that you can't change.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make a prequel, you have to work with the bounds and the boundaries and the laws that have already been created. That's the problem with The Last Jedi. They don't play in the rules that have been created.
No.
Like weaponizing a light speed. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh, dude.
The woman comes in to save the day.
Well, that's just so stupid. I mean, just she had no point. It's like that's what's, I forgot her name with the
purple hair.
I know the purple hair, but
the Admiral. I don't even care.
Anyways, but it was like, what's his name? Who's the pilot again? Why am I blanking out? Poe. Yeah, Poe's like, that's General. What? You mean to say you're in this like peanut-sized rebellion and you missed the chick with the purple hair?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, dude. Right. You've heard these stories about this person, but you don't know she's got some weird purple hair. I mean, that actually, the hair part was kind of cool because it kind of like, from a cinematography standpoint, I thought the hair thing was kind of cool. I don't know about the evening dress. It probably would have made her a little different than that, but the hair thing was cool because it stuck her out.
It brings me on to my next point, which we've talked about. Episode 4, 5, and 6. Leia, strong, independent, warrior. Episode 1, 2, and 3. Padme, strong, independent, warrior. Like, I love women. I love everything about women.
Probably
I just
too much.
cannot. Yeah, probably. Yeah, thank you, Doug. I can't stand all of this social justice warrior, feminazi, anti-male.
Yeah, you know, I don't even want to give that. I don't even want to give that credit. I don't even want to talk about it because it's like it's something that's not worth being talked about. Because for someone to say that I don't like something and make a judgment call on me and say, you don't like this because I'm dude, that's I don't even address people like that.
Right.
Because the people that have a problem with that are most likely seeing that in themselves.
Yeah, they're ignorant.
And I don't appreciate that, because it's like, I know what I like. I know that I like Padme. I know,
Yeah.
I know the characters that I like. I know that I like Lando Calrissian. I know that I liked Billy D. Williams in Predator.
Yeah.
I know I like these things. I went and saw Action Jackson, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what I like.
Right.
And if something comes out, I don't really care about a race or gender. I want a good story.
Good story.
And so I don't even give that stuff a credit. I don't even come at that stuff, because it's just not worth my time.
Right.
What I'm talking about is actual, just make a good movie.
Yep.
It doesn't even make sense. You're talking about these legends. It's like, has anybody ever took a history course on how a legend is developed?
Oh gosh.
Seriously, dude.
It
takes so long to make an actual legend happen. It doesn't happen while people are still living when someone like that was alive. That doesn't happen.
Wait,
someone could
years?
still say, no,
years?
man. I saw Luke Skywalker. He was at the local cantina the other day. I saw him there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Jedi's just existed this is what it's like me saying. It'd be like me saying, let me think if I can think of a quick one.
Well, World War II.
Well, that World War II will play into the actual plot line and how that's kind of malarkey too. But to say something didn't exist is it's like this. It'd be like saying, there's no such thing. You mean rotary phones existed? You mean they actually had to have a line to do this? What we do here with the cell phone?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, there are people that were alive that actually dialed a rotary phone when he was a little kid going, it did exist.
Right.
And there were people that were alive that saw Jedi. There were people that were alive that saw the acts of Luke Skywalker. There are people that were alive still when the Empire was overthrown.
Right.
And just the fact that the Empire got into power and destroyed all these... just the fact that the Empire got into power is kind of like a little silly and ridiculous, that they could create an army that big and abduct kids across the universe.
Right.
And in that short of a time, and build a